My pop, Reginald Wolfe, was born on 2nd of April 1939 in a small building in Wodonga that only had housewives and was made for mothers to give birth in, no hospital or doctors. My pop had 3 other siblings. My pop grew up in Wodonga, Victoria, with his dad Clifford John Wolfe, mum Emily Charles Hughes, and his 3 other siblings. When my pop was a kid, Wodonga was very small, with approximately a population of 1,500 to 2,500 people. Photos on the left is Pop's 3rd car, which is a Holden FX Ute 1956, and the one on the right is his 2nd car, which is a FE Holden sedan. My pop went to Wodonga Primary School and Wodonga High School. Both primary school and high school were in the same building. After he finished school, he started an apprenticeship in carpentry and joinery, and then he went to Albury Technical for 4 years. My pop continued to study when he came to Canberra in 1960 and got many different certificates within the construction industry. The family tree dates back to 1845 and goes as far as 1970. My pop wasn't able to find a more recent family tree, but this goes back to Daniel Wolfe, who was born in 1845. From what we could find, the furthest we could go back is 1845, and that is when we lived in Germany and had German culture, and lived in the city Handover. We aren't entirely sure how long we lived in Germany for, but my pop thinks we did for many generations before Daniel Wolfe and Charles Fredericks, who also lived in Germany. The picture is a map of Handover, Germany in early 20th century. Before my last name changed, it was Wolfe with no E on the end. But around when World War I was underway, the British and Americans both hated German names. And because Daniel Wolfe lived in England and came from Handover, Germany, and with a very German-sounding last name, he decided to put a silent E on the end as a way of a cover-up. My ancestors came from England in 1852, on one of the first steel-made ships called the SS Great Britain, which was bought by the Gimp's, Bright and Co. for carrying immigrants to Australia. Daniel Wolfe, who was an immigrant from Germany, with his wife Augustus Schroeder, came across on the SS Great Britain. Picture on the right is Daniel Wolfe in Wodonga, Victoria in the early 1870s. When my ancestors first came to Australia, they arrived in Port Augustus, and then they moved into Melbourne for some time, then moved back by horse and cart to Wodonga. They were one of the first families to live in Wodonga, with only 12 other families amongst them. Photo on the left, back left, is Augustus Wolfe. Next to her is Joseph Wolfe. Photo on the left is Augustus Schroeder, and the baby being held is Annie Wolfe. When my pop was younger, he would ride push bikes all over town, and he would go swimming in the creek with friends. One day when they were swimming, his brother got swept away and almost drowned, but was resuscitated by his friend. My pop was also a volunteer in the Wodonga Fire Brigade for 7 years. My pop said there is a lot more stress nowadays compared to when he was a boy. He would help his parents a lot more, and said kids now don't help their parents enough when they should be helping out more. In this picture, on the right is my pop, in the middle is Pop's dad, on the left is Jack Wolfe, and the baby is my uncle Greg Wolfe. My culture that is in Germany is long gone. No one in my dad's side follows that culture. Our culture now is Australian culture. We do not relate to our ancestors' past culture, which has been lost forever. This quote relates to me and stands out the most to me. Saw equations I never understood, rubbed off the board. I think my culture relates to this quote because we have a lot of information about my ancestors, but we will never fully understand how they lived in their culture.